it's about using your gift and creating a life out of it. So taking what you were born with or what you were born here to do and making sure that you share it. And my mom always says, like all babies were born with their hands closed because each one of us are carrying a gift. And then our one sole purpose is to make sure we open it up and let it
live.
Flourish. Most of us live our lives like this, you know, and too scared to open up our gifts and too scared to share who we are and what we're about because our gifts sometimes don't fit into what society says we should be. So I think we should all try open up. And
is that what you did with the creative bar? Is that your true example of opening up? Because I mean, you left tailor-made legal solutions, and then so you leave what is supposed to be, you know, a fixed job, sure money, surefire, this and that.
Tailor-made legal solutions was also a startup, but before that I was at a corporate firm, one of the big 5 firms. So that was like
that your aha?
Yeah, that was the taking the leap, right? Because yes, I was seen to be very young and successful. I'm a young lawyer at a top corporate law firm. Where am I going? Why am I leaving? So I think the leap was between those two. But I think also it still was a leap because I was in a partnership at TailorMade and I went into the creative bar and now I wasn't. And now you're alone. You don't have anyone to bounce off ideas to. You don't have anyone to support you. You just have to trust in yourself. And I think that's always the hardest thing to do. But sometimes, you know, and I think some of the biggest business mistakes I've made is because I didn't listen, right? Sometimes I would make a decision and immediately I knew, or something would tell me, that's a bad decision, baby girl, bad decision. But because we're so used to fighting ourselves and our gifts and our spirit, I'm like, no, the world says this is it, and it comes back to bite me. But those are the learning curves with everything in life.
Did you feel like you were being stung by the do this by yourself be every time you were in that job? What was that moment that you realized, okay, it's not gonna work for me to be a part of this company. I need to own my own time.
When I knew that, first of all, I looked at like the partners in the firm, and I was like, I don't see myself.
You don't see yourself represented.
So at the highest level of the company, I didn't want to be that. So that was an immediate flag for me that, okay, obviously this is not the place for you. And 2, being a young black woman in a white boys club, I kind of felt like if I stayed, I would always be trying to prove that I'm worthy, trying to prove that I'm smart enough. Because nothing in those environments celebrated anything that looked like me or sounded like me. So it was really like, you need to go to places where you're celebrated, because there was a period when I was working there where I started to doubt myself and my intellect. Started to doubt that, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm here for a reason. They don't just hire people. They don't just
Well, that's the thing, is because they know they need your service and they know that they need it, and they draw from it all the time. But somehow there always seems to be time for poking at your confidence. You know what I mean? It can't just be you delivering the work. I was speaking to my crush. I was actually speaking to my crush about the difference between official and unofficial energy. I call it that. It's like something that doesn't really exist.
Okay.
But the official energy in a workspace for me is the energy where that offers solutions. So even if it's a stressful situation, there's always a solution for it, and that's the energy that I'm paid to entertain, right?
Sure.
Then the unofficial energy is the energy that comes with black girl, top position, why is it not me, you know what I mean? All the extra stuff that you can't really resolve because you didn't create it, So the unofficial energy, I feel, takes away so much from our experience in these companies, because it is a white boys club.
Yeah.
It really is a white boys club. But in the white boys club, the unofficial energy, the energy of you're great at your job, but you're still black. That unofficial energy really messes with the official.
I think it is. It was walking into that building at some point felt like looking into the mirror and not being able to recognize myself. So it was a mirror that didn't reflect anything African, that didn't reflect anything black, didn't reflect anything woman, didn't reflect me, right? And I was forced to try and find myself in this mirror every single day. So I remember someone was even like there was a a meme or tweet going around about you could see this black girl lying on her bed, and then every morning she puts on her whiteness, and that's exactly how sometimes I felt. And we stay because we've been told that there's nothing for us outside. And I think also one of the realization, the difficulty for me was, okay, I'm a young black girl who's doing really well. So compared to everybody else who's my age and who looks like me, I look like I've made it, and I look like I'm on top of the mountain. But working in those environments and being exposed to everything, and also being exposed to systematic oppression in that way, made me realize, oh my goodness, I'm actually also at the very bottom of the next.
You definitely are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that your title says different. It doesn't matter that your title says different.
Yeah.
So, do you think that was like one of the strongest reasons for you to just break out and start Creative Bar? What was your thinking? Were you lowly frustrated, or were you just at a point of sheer confidence when you made that move?
Not at all sheer confidence. It was just that I'm young. If I'm ever going to do something, it must be now. And also, there was something ringing inside of me that says there has to be more than this. There absolutely has to be more that I can do with my life and for my people, for black people. It was just I felt stuck in some ways, and it's weird to feel stuck or stifled when you are at the top, when you are at a leading global firm, right? And it was a constant.
Do you feel ungrateful before you get confident? Was there?
Never ungrateful. Never ungrateful. I always really felt that I belong at the top, right? But not this top. So never ungrateful, just scared because I haven't been shown any other way. There's not many people who I can look at and say, okay, that girl's doing this, so I can also do it. So representation was very minimal. So it was scared because I wouldn't have a job, I wouldn't have a salary, like there are debit orders and stuff to be paid.
Not going away.
And those don't go away, and the bank does not care about your dreams. They want their money. So it was more a fear of, and also when I left, I didn't know, I thought that I would be done with law because of how I was just so over that environment.
That's interesting.
So I never thought, I was looking at other stuff. So when I even left, I took a bit of time off to work at different places, see different people, talk to see, and it just came back. So when it came back in a different format. It came back as a fun, artistic way, right? So
and is that because you have that in you? Are you a creative at heart? Are you around creatives? What is this thing that made you go out of that and then think, okay, the creative? What is that thing that made you, and you might not remember that actual thing, but when did it click to you that creatives need this help, and this is how my law should live?
It was not really my idea. Someone spoke to me about this and said, firstly, everybody really thought I was too messy, not messy in a very nice way. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, messy to be in
Like
a
all over the place?
No,
Oh, no.
not all over
Maybe
the
you had like
place.
too much effervescence for a corporate space.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was too much of a creative in this space.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got
So so everyone kept saying that you don't belong here. Like even colleagues who were like my age group would tell me, you don't belong here. You need to go out and go do something with your life, you know. And I'm like, what do you mean I must do something with my life? So someone spoke to me about they had realized that there was this need, and I was like, okay. Like, it spoke very deeply to me. I don't know why, but it really did speak deeply to me. And it was also a way to combine my analytical and creative side. So I think that I describe myself as like an analytical creative. So if I wasn't doing like this type of law, I'd probably do architecture.
Wow.
So that's kind of
So
how
it keeps you in a creative space, but
it's
there's like elements of control.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that is how I use both sides of my brain. So I need to be active or do work that stimulates those parts of me.
That stimulates both.
Yeah.
Sure. So you start this thing that just about so you talk a lot about how do I fit into a place that empowers people who look like me.
Yeah.
And people who look like us are really the creatives. Like
Yeah.
if we're keeping it 100%.
Yeah.
In agency environments, a lot of the time you see the same hierarchy, and then at the very top, or not the very top, but just close enough to the top, there is someone who looks like us who is churning out creative ideas.
Yeah.
Artists, Maboneng, everywhere is like a bunch of,
Sorry, babe.
you know what I mean? Sinuses are real. Anyway, everywhere we go, there's creatives, they're black creatives. So how did you come to think about what exactly it is you're going to focus on? How did you figure out that it would be music, lifestyle?
I think I started to reflect deeply on the kind of people that we are as Africans, right?
Yeah.
And how even across the continent, how our spirit is drawn to things like the drum, right? And we dance when we express joy. We also dance in terms of when we're sad and angry. So how we express emotion. So I reflected on those kind of things, and I also started to look at how the West is really coming here to take our ideas, package them differently, and sell them to us
absolutely.
as luxury.
Absolutely.
Those are those things that really got to me. I'm like, this is ours, this is mine, this is my heritage, this is my culture, and my people should be the ones who are benefiting from this.
Yeah, I want to actually quote you here. You say, intellectual property is the medium in which Africa can regain the power to control its narrative and story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, it is about that. It's about taking back our power, and I'm just using the arts and the lore to do that.
That's beautiful. I think it's also quite incredible that you thought you would leave law altogether, but somehow, just talking about when we were listening to Aretha Franklin before any of this started, I'm just thinking about how somehow like passion will always find its way back in. It'll always find a way to kind of accommodate, and I think that's what's kind of happened with the creative bar. And first of all, let's do a toast, because congratulations, okay, to second place in the Can-Do competition, which was like incredible for entrepreneurs, like such an incredible opportunity.
I think
a toast to that first, a toast to that, because that second place is incredible.
I am so happy. Thank you for everybody who voted for me. I think that there's something about votes, right? It's about the people speaking, right? And the people
affirmations,
putting they trust, their spirit behind you. And for us to come second place, we're not even a year old. it just says to me, girl, keep going.
And for me, it also speaks to the purpose, though. It speaks to what people really, really, really need. Because, I mean, there's so many scenarios on the timeline. And it's funny enough how I got to know about the Creative Bar was the scenarios on the timeline. And I remember a girl was complaining because there was a show coming out in one of our top TV channels. And she was talking from, I think she screen grabbed some of the stuff she had put together. She was like, this is literally a duplicate of what I presented to you guys that you didn't get back to me on, but now you've put a new name on it, a new presenter, and that's all that's changed about it. And it kind of fizzled away. It was just online, and then it fizzled away, and it made me think in that moment, who the hell do you go to about NDA things? Like, who do you go to?
I think it's all about, these things happen because of how systems and structures of oppression have been set up. So even if in those little spaces, companies understand the power that they have.
Fully aware.
So, and they understand that you don't have the means to get a lawyer to fight this case for the long haul, because also
you'll be depleted financially, emotionally by the time you even get to a possible decision.
You're not even going to get anywhere because most of the time they also delay it to frustrate you. And then at the end of the day, I want my money. I'm a lawyer and we don't come cheap. I'm also like, where's my money? And if you don't pay, I stop working, you know. So systems of oppression are put in like in all spheres of our lives, especially when I'm speaking about being a Black African woman creative. All those segments of who I am have a layer of oppression that I have to fight against. And I also just thought that, I also just thought that actually if I'm going to do something in this world, it's just change the narrative of my people and change how and just to showcase our brilliance
and give us the power. Because I think administratively in the creative world we've still got such a long way to go, and I think that corporate has the confidence it has because they have confidence in administration, in legislation and things like that. It's fixed. They know what they can and cannot do. But for us it's trial and error. For entrepreneurs it's trial and error. And our legal systems, the constitution, don't really support like the creative way of living.
They do. I'll disagree. In terms of policy and legal, we've got probably one of the best legal systems for creatives in terms of how to protect your intellectual property. What I think the problem is number one, creatives don't want to operate as businesses, right? Everybody's like, oh, I'm a creative.
I suppose that's what I meant by admin, is that we don't have that thing where we need to understand that. But then you're creative.
Then that's your problem. If you are a creative, you need to see yourself as a creative entrepreneur. That's why I say I'm here for creative entrepreneurs and not necessarily creatives. Because a creative entrepreneur understands that there's business. And that's
both parts of you need to live at the same time.
So that's one of the first thing. And two, I think that we have great laws, but there's no human face to it. And what I mean by that is people don't know their rights. One, yes, you have a duty to educate yourself on things that matter to you, but there's also not enough being done to break down the technicalities of the law, because it's very bulky, it's very heavy with lots of jargon. So even if you say, okay, I want to go learn about this, and you get immense in the legislation, if you don't know the terminology, and we use so many words and Roman and just to sound really, really smart, you'll get lost in it.
I feel you.